Welcome to my wizard class. For those of you who don't know me, I am Lady Vayl of Felfrost in the Kingdom of the Nine Blades, and I am a max level wizard. This class today is going to be for people who are new to moderate experience. Either you're a new person and wizard is like a class you want to start playing, or you've leveled one or two classes and you're thinking about leveling wizard next. About that later. We're going to be covering some. If you see me looking down in my notes, we're going to be covering general strategies and how to pick spells that work for those strategies. And the first step of all of this is deciding what you want to do in the battle game and where you want to be on the battlefield. For example, do you want to be super aggressive, but you want to be back line? Do you want to be in the mid line of combat, but you want to play mainly support? Do you want to just hurl spell balls and do that from the front line? That's the first. Picking those things and keeping that in mind is what we need to do is the first thing you need to do, and it informs all the other choices that we make when picking our spells. Second step is knowing what we have to work with in the level that we get it. So we're going to start with first level. You have my general recommendations by level is basically what we're going over now. First level, short weapon. The short weapon, which costs 2 points to use, and you can only buy one of them, but you get, obviously, like all casters, you get daggers for free. Have at least one or the other. I always say have a blade on you. It's better to have it and not need it than desperately need it and not have it. You end up dead. Force bolts, 1 point for 3 balls, which that basically do the same thing as an arrow. That's a good spell. One of the fastest incants in the whole game. Force bolt. Very handy to have. Can save your butt. Can save your butt when you need something to do just that. Bend, shove, weapon. Whenever I build a list, if I'm playing a class that has access to bend, release, heal, I take all three. Since wizards don't get heal, I always have mend and release on my list. I have at least 1 or 2 if I can build for it. Someone is inevitably going to come up to you and be like, hey, I'm in a crappy situation. Hey, crap, I'm out of armor. Hey, crap, I'm out of swords. Help me. And it's good to be able to provide that when you can, even if your list isn't necessarily 100% built for it. Having just the one end on your list, handy. Shove. If you want to try running a list that doesn't have spell balls, shove is surprisingly, it's a somewhat versatile spell. You can use it aggressively to break up a line in front of you, or you can use it defensively. Let me do that. You can use it defensively to just if you're being charged by 1 or 2 people, just get one of them to back off so you can get away. The only about Banish. Banish is a somewhat underrated spell. It forces people. This is not my memory. It's really good for using against people who are insubstantial, which is what it does. The only first level spell that I not recommend taking because it's very good, is Force Barrier. It makes you frozen. Force Barrier freezes you for 30 seconds. And you're in that frozen state for 30 seconds, whether you want to be or not. So you basically just turn yourself into a target for enemy wizards, or really anyone with release who can just like come up behind you, release, stab. It's not fun. I wouldn't recommend putting the worst aspects of Frozen on yourself. Second level. I already talked about release. Release moves removes one state from a person that's not cursed. I love having release on my list. You can use it on yourself. You can use it on other people. Astral Intervention, the inverse of Banish. You can take someone and you're standing where you are, but no one can hit you for 30 seconds. You're forcing Shadow Step on someone. Those of you who play Assassins. Handy spell. Breakcon. Breakcon is Breakcon is a good spell. I like Breakcon. I like having Breakcon on my list. I usually have like one or two of them. I don't personally recommend falling into the trap of building your list around BreakCon. I've seen some people try to. I'm really great. Let's see if we can fix that. That's much better. I look less like a ghost. Okay. Where was I? I've seen some people fall into the trap of like taking all of their points and then just like sinking them all down into BreakCon and then just run around spamming BreakCon at people. This is, in my opinion, not an effective strategy because they'll just run up and stab you. A lot of people will just, okay, you hit me with a BreakCon, I'll just run up and stab you. And then there are people who are either outright resistant or immune to BreakCon. It's the kind of strategy that once enemy team catches on that's what you're doing, it can very easily counter it. And then a whole bunch of points are just gone. Entangle. Brown spell ball. Stop someone. Make someone not able to move their feet for 60 seconds. It's good to have. Good to have if you're playing. If you either are second or third level, and you don't have lightning bolt yet, or you're running an evoker list and you just need more chaos to rain on people. Evoker's the max level ability allows you to just tangle, lightning bolt, fear of annihilation. It's good for that. I find for if I'm running a vanilla list, I don't tend to put Entangle on it as much now that I'm max level. But if you're fourth level and under, Entangle is a good option to have. It's 1 point for 2 spell balls that stops someone for 60 seconds. Handy. Teleport. Wizards get teleport at a lower level than everyone else in the game. Every other caster that has access to teleport gets it at fourth level. We get it at second. Wizards get it at second. It's a very handy get it of jail free card. Especially when we get fourth level and we have access to Swift. Swift or Travel to the Aether on. Handy to have. Innate is a meta magic that you stick onto another spell. You can stick it on any spell that you want. Innate inserts spell that is specifically chargeable, and it instantly recharges the spell. But it's a per refresh thing, so I don't take innate on my wizard lists. Planar Grounding I wish I could use more than I actually do. It's good. Planar grounding. If the target is insubstantial, it kicks them out, and then they can't go back in. They can't become insubstantial for 30 seconds. And if the target is not insubstantial, they cannot become insubstantial for 30 seconds. Handy. All casters, pretty much all classes, but casters especially, all they'll start to really find their footing once you hit third level. In my experience, a lot of the third level magic is stuff that you will come back to even when you hit fourth, fifth, sixth. You'll be using a lot of third level magic, a lot of third level wizard magic on the regular. It includes Dispel Magic, removes all enchantments from a target. It's one is per refresh, but charge times 3. That's one of the best spells in the game, and it does not take long to get back once you use it. If I can have a Dispel on my list, have a Dispel on my list. Hold Person, another very handy spell. I do often have Hold Persons on my list. You make someone not move their feet for 30 seconds. Handy to have. It pairs it like Hold Person, Lightning Bolt, and Entangle all pair very nicely with Dragged Below. Dragged Below kills the target if they're stopped. Extension. I command this drop, I command this drop, I command this drop. The 20-foot range spell is now range 50 feet. You need to have 1 or 2 extensions on your list. Ice balls. I go back and forth a little bit with ice balls in my head, not because they're not incredibly useful, but like while ice ball is one of my favorite spells, I fully acknowledge that it's not fun being frozen, especially for 60 seconds. Can't move, you can't do anything. You can't be hurt for 60 seconds, but also can't defend yourself from the enemy scout coming up behind you, release, stab, stab, stab. But in general, though, right now, I usually put a point into Ice Ball and have 2 of them, because it is very effective. Lightning Bolt. Take an Entangle, mix it with a Force Bolt. It's Lightning Bolt. The best part about Lightning Bolt is that the stopped effect applies to barbarians because it's a flame school spell, not a subdual spell. I usually put like 2 points into Lightning Bolt. Greater Mend, handy for a support list. Heals either one piece of equipment or all of the armor in one location. I don't usually bother with throw just because it's per refresh. Yeah, they have to move 50 feet, but shove is per life. Shatter Weapon. Wizards already have a wide array of tools for shattering weapons when you have Force Bolts and Lightning Bolts. And Heat Weapon doesn't destroy the weapon, but it gets the weapon out of their hand. Wizards just have better means of getting weapons out of people. Get better and more effective means of getting weapons out of people's hands than Shatter Weapon. Ravage. Theoretically, the effect of Ravage is really good. The problem is the big, bulky incant. That shall ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile. That shall ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile. That shall ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile. It's hard to get that off. It makes the target fragile, and there's no time limit on that fragile state. So, like, depending on your ability to cast quickly and clearly, a Ravage might be an interesting option to look at. Fourth level, our final level of spells that we're covering today. Icy Blast and Shatter. Icy Blast, make the target frozen. Shatter kills a frozen target. I do usually have Icy Blast Shatter on my list. Icy Blast and Shatter on my list, but I don't rely on the Icy Blast Shatter combo for all of my kills because it's predictable. What I tend to rely on more is Ball, because the frozen state lasts longer and the frozen state lasts longer. Ice Ball and Ice Balls don't need to be charged. Ice Balls are not per refresh. You just pick it up and use it again. Swift. Swift can be used on spell balls and touch ranged verbals. Having one or two Swifts on your list can save your day. Dimensional Rift pairs nicely with Astral Intervention. It kills a target if they're specifically insubstantial. It can be used for spooking assassins to make them go away since they love relying on their insubs. Fireballs are handy. Fireballs are handy, but they're not as, I prefer Lightning Bolt because of the stop effect. I do still like having a fireball on my list though when I can. Suppress Aura. It's 3 break cons put together per refresh. Handy spell. And the Vampirism enchantment. Ryan from Felfrost, Aaron, loves having Vampirism put on him, but I don't often have Vampirism on my lists. It is an enchantment that makes my memory. Pretty good enchantment that can be fun to play with. Wizards enchantments are also interesting. I very sincerely apologize. I should have done this before I started the class, but I need to take a quick 3-minute break to use the Little Witch's Room. I'll be right back. I promise. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. We can pause this.
I will be right back. I'm so sorry.
And now the goblins take over.
Yay for goblins.
Yay for it not being UTC time.
But now's the perfect time to sign in, Satch.
Yeah.
Balance. Or the watchdog.
Mm-hmm.
My goblin dress is about the only thing that fits me right now.
Princess Goblin.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Satch.
and then VO is having another thing tonight for an Ask Me Anything. Well, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to hit that because I have to run a D&D game. So might as well get at least 1 credit guaranteed.
Exactly.
I literally tried on one of my gowns from like 3 years ago, and I damn near got trapped in it because it didn't fit me anymore.
Yeah, some of my stuff's not fitting me. I like to think it's because I'm getting old, not because I'm getting thick.
I think I might steal that. No, it's an easy fix. All I have to do is just extend the back opening. That's all, and the thighs at the back. But it was very very painful trying to get that thing off. But I had to call my neighbor for help.
That's why I have my kid. I'm like, hey, sweetie, zip this up for me in the back. Okay, no, take it off.
I remember growing up. That was my job, always to be the zipper person.
Oh, my dad, yeah. My dad did that for all us girls.
Are you gonna get paid for it? You don't pay rent. That's your payments. Place
Maybe that's what I should train my cat to do next.
I have a funny story about fitting into things and not being able to fit back out of them. If
Go for
anyone
it,
knows
might as
Brother
well.
Vin, he is a much skinnier man than me. And many years ago, I was able to fit his chainmail on for a quest or a battle game or something. It took like 5 people to get me back out of it. Inch by inch.
Chainmail is deceptive though, because it is so fluid, right? It's like, I got it on. It'll be easy to get off.
Oh, yeah.
Studies show that was a fucking lie.
Oh, was it ever?
My first clue should have been the fact that it was really hard to get it up over my head with my shoulders. But then it got stuck on my chest, and I'm like, nope, needs to come off now. I can't breathe.
Getting shit stuck on my chest is always an issue with me.
Maybe that's why I like the lace up front ones so much more. It's like a maternity bra. It's so much easier to take off, on and off. Now, that dress is getting fixed. I lost a pair of pants. Actually, I've lost quite a few pairs of pants recently. And I can't wait to get my hands on a piece of black fabric so I can split this dress that I have. My dad's sister, Carrie, out in BC, she buys into these recycled sari skirts. It's called Darn Good Yarn. They are amazing skirts. They come in various sizes. And this one in particular, I want to split it because I love both fabrics on their own, not together. So I'm going to split them and make new backings, but I need to find black fabric. I have the brown for the other one. Just need the black.
Are legitimately the greatest thing ever for sewing. I love them.
I've returned. I am very sorry about that, everyone, but thank you for waiting.
It's okay. We just talked about stuff not fitting us.
I also realized that I just went through a lot of spells very quickly. I'll take about 5 minutes, and take about till 2 o'clock until 2 o'clock to answer any spell questions on anything I've covered so far.
Also, Vayl, just a heads up. I've been building in buffer times, so there's actually an additional half hour after your class. So if you run a little past 2:30, it's not a big deal, okay?
Okay. Did anyone?
I did.
Okay.
So
What was your question?
so so earlier when you were talking about drag below, so like you can use entangle then drag below to kill people?
The entangled spell, if it entangled, puts the stopped state on a target, and dragged below kills targets that are specifically stopped. You can combo those spells together.
Is that what you usually do? Is there a faster incant for stop?
Does the same thing as entangle plus effects of a force bolt on whatever it hits. It'll breaking, weapon destroying, wound dealing. Hold person though is a little faster. So depending on the target, if they're immune, if you're dealing with a target who is resistant or immune to subdual, because healers can give out immunities to single schools of magic. So sometimes hold person can be faster, and it's the same thing. That answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Was there any other questions on anything I've covered so far?
I'm going to actually disagree with you on the use of force barrier. because that particular spell has saved me a number of times when people are steamrolling me. I'm just like, I'll freeze myself and I'll take that 30 seconds. You were right. It's very dependent on who you're fighting. If I have like barbarians and warriors, I'll just eat that 30 seconds because I'll take that and then I'll still be alive.
It's fair. Just personally wish that they gave wizards stone form at 2nd level. It's just like what druids do, because then you are in control of when you can come out or not. As opposed to you're stuck, as opposed to you are in the frozen state for 30 seconds. But that can definitely be situational and depending on the user. These are just my general recommendations. Obviously, I can't obviously say this spell is 100% absolutely awful. This is just what I generally think.
Oh no, absolutely. It was just like when you were saying that, I was like, what? No, that's the spell I always put on my list. That's the oh my god, I'm gonna die spell. I die a lot, so I try to avoid it.
It's fair. I find when I find my oh shit, I'm gonna die combo is swift teleport. That's what I like to do in that situation. Is just then I can just move myself out of the way, and unless they've got an enemy wizard or a scout or something, or a scout specifically takes the time to track you out. I find it pretty successful personally. Any other questions, comments, concerns over anything I've covered so far?
I have a question. What is the best weapon to use? Say a wizard wants to use a weapon. What's the best one to use? Points wise and weapon wise.
Weapons that they can buy with points. Wizards only have the 2. You have short and long. You get the short. You can take the short at 1st level and the long at 5th. The dagger obviously costs no points. Most of the time, I personally have a short sword in my offhand, usually with a spell balls, with like uncharged spell balls that I can just like grab, charge, go. But that's what I always have a short sword. Some people prefer to just have the dagger. Either is really wrong. I just say like I've seen some people who are decent Florentine fighters can make the long and short combo wizard work. I think that is possible, but mechanically clunky because wizards have to have an empty hand. You have to have an empty hand in order to cast. So
I heard that
combo,
people could have the strapped weapon though on their wrist or something.
yes, and then you drop it and it hangs there, but you still have to like drop the weapon and then wrangle it back into your hand. Also, you have to be careful because sometimes say your weapon gets like pulled out of your hand suddenly, it could potentially injure your wrist. You have to be a little bit careful if you're going to do something like that.
I guess you could get the Velcro kind, like the Velcro strap stuff that people would have for like that throwy ball.
Have under a minute left. So is there one last fast question, and then I'll get back into the planned lesson. Did anyone have any one quick question as to anything I've covered so far? Going to go right back into step 3, which is I'm going to go over about that. Vayl going over some spell lists that I have prepared, but I forgot to put them on my This won't take long. Copy and paste the lists in question into the chat. Start with a backline support wizard and what spells and tools I specifically take to accomplish that. Okay. Everyone see that in the scheduled event chat?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, this is a list where I did specifically choose to take the dagger as opposed to the short sword. For this is just like an example list. I'm max level, so I am a max level wizard, so I use 5th and 6th level spells. This is just an example of how one could build a list of backline support wizard list. Whenever I'm personally building a list, I start from, unless I'm playing healer, if I'm playing wizard, I start my lists from the highest level down. So I start with fourth level. The point of this list is that we are we are on the back line. We are behind, excuse me, sorry. We are behind warriors. We are behind the archers. We're behind everyone else on our team, and we are using our abilities to keep them in the game. So at 4th level, I took 2 Swifts, which I can apply them to a bunch of other things. I have Mends, I have Greater Mends. I can use those to get, I don't spend so much time incanting. I did take Icy Blast. I did take 2 Icy Blasts, and I did take a Wounding. One of the tricks with support-based wizards is that it's not impossible, obviously, but wizards in general are more offensive in general in the design of the class, so making them go in a support route can be done. Just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Don't have no aggro. Don't throw away the thing that that the wizard class does best. Which is why I have 2 AC blasts, so that if someone does break that, if an enemy does come within that front line, I can pin them down. And the wounding is so that I can take off a limb if I need to. I personally choose to put the 2 points into Icy Blast because then they're just standing there. They're standing there, they are not doing anything. If they could be slowed down if I used a wounding to chop off their leg. I've seen some people who are very fast, who can run very quickly on their knees. And Icy Blast slows them down more. Which is why I personally take the 2 points into Icy Blast. If you wanted to put all 3 of these points into wounding, you totally could do that. Depending on the field that you're playing at, that is totally valid. Thank you for the question. And then I sank the point that I got from Look the Part. I sank it to 2nd level. Going to 3rd level, I put a point into I always put a point of magic into Ice Ball because Ice Ball is beautiful. And because I have the Ice Ball, I don't rely as much on the Icy Blast because the Ice Balls are, again, I can use them as many times as I want. Icy Blast is a per refresh spell. I always have my Dispel Magic, my Lightning Bolt, and this is where Greater Mend works in lists like this. So that you can, oh crap, the warrior is down to 1 point of armor on its chest. Greater Mend. Thank you for that. 2nd level, this is where I put my 6th point from 4th level. I have 3 releases, and I have 2 teleports because we don't have low enough on a fence that you might need to get out of the way or use it to get someone else into, or you can also use teleport to get a willing teammate into a situation as well. I've used teleport that way a few times. And I have a BreakCon on my list. I wasn't 100% sure where to put that point. Also, it can be a handy thing when it can be handy. Oh crap, that wizard is close enough to an assassin that if they were out of magic, they'd be in trouble. Okay, 1st level, I have my dagger, I have my mend, 2 points into mend, and 1 point into force bolt. And I also took experienced. I think I forgot to talk about experienced earlier. Experienced is a meta magic where you stick it onto something else. And if you stick it onto a verbal, and if the verbal is per life, it becomes charge times 5. And if it's per refresh, it becomes charge times 10. I stuck it onto release. So now my release is, I have 3 releases per life, charge times 5. Want that. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the backline support wizard? Or questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions? I would also like to hear what you would do with a list like this.
I don't know enough about wizards.
That's fair. And support wizard, as I said earlier, is a little bit of a tricky one to build because you're playing against type for wizards a little bit. This is the sort of, if I'm playing support wizard, it's because I'm feeling pretty tired. Maybe I don't know, I didn't sleep great last night, but I still want to play at least one battle game. To play support, I would play healer or druid instead. Maybe healer, druid, or bard. Other caster classes do support better than wizard does, but the option is there, is what I wanted to show you. Next, we are going to go over a midline line breaker. This list Everyone can see that okay? Off here. This list is all about find. Sorry?
Oh, I was just replying to if you can see. I can see.
Okay. So now this list is all about finding where the enemy is forming little clusters of people working together and breaking those clusters up. Enemies are much easier to face when they're not all together. We have wounding, which we have 1 point of wounding on this list because it's charge times 3. We have Icy Blast and Experienced Shatter. So the Shatter is now charge times 10. Both are still per refresh, but the Shatter is now rechargeable. 2 points of Destroy Armor, so we've got 4 of those on this list. Destroy Armor is a spell where it you point at someone and you declare their armor location, and it destroys all the armor in that location. And again, Fireball. I use fire. I used to use Fireball when I was more so when I was lower levels. As you level up, I find Fireball somewhat loses its effect. Isn't a go-to as much as it was when I was lower levels. I do still use Fireball from time to time though when I'm max level. Third level magic spell. If I can have Dispel on my list, I will. The only reason that you ever can't Dispel on your list, from a generally speaking, is if you're playing Evoker, because Evokers do not get ranged verbals. I remember that. I'm gonna double check myself to make sure I'm not misinforming you, but yes, it's been almost a year since I played Wizard. I apologize. Two lightning bolts and a drag below on this list as well. Compare the drag below with our drag below with our rules purchase may only be used range touch yourself. Virgin, that is very true. It's been a while since any of us have played any class. The drag below pairs nicely with lightning bolt and other spells that we're going to take at lower levels, such as entangle. I did put a point of entangle, so we have 2 entangle balls on this list as well. For those with the drag below. If we need to, because we only have the 1 drag below, and then we have, of course, a release and a teleport. Gotta have your oh shit button. First level, I took experience and I put that on the Shatter, as we talked about earlier. We have shove, so we can literally force people out of, we can literally just make people move out of those clusters if we're out of our other spells, and we have force bolt. Again, removing weapons, breaking down armor. Does anyone have any questions on how this particular midline line breaker list would work? once, twice. Hold. Okay, that's the 2 of those. Now, seem to have talked very fast because that's that's basically where I generally would have ended things. Did anyone, again, are there any other questions, comments? Did anyone want me to go in detail, going to go more in depth on anything? Anything wizard related? See a Sedge is typing.
What advice would you give to somebody who is attempting to play wizard for the first time?
The first time? Well, if they've never played Amtgard before, focus on casting quickly, focus on casting clearly. Even if it means even if it means that your spells are taking a longer time to cast than the other more experienced people you're seeing around you. It's super important as casters that everyone around you, enemies, allies, etc., understands what you're casting. Because otherwise, they just won't take your spells. If for someone more experienced, their weapon hit them with a force bolt is fun. That is actually an excellent reason why you should always have some type of blade. Because someone is inevitably someone, monk, warrior, scout, assassin, someone is going to get up in your face and they're going to swing at you, and the only thing you're going to be able to, having that blade lets you at least block until you can either get a spell off or get your feet working and run the other way. See a Steffi is type. Favorite spell thematically, the flavor, not the mechanic. Ooh, that's a good question. Probably Ravage. I like the idea that this person is all of a sudden. I like Ravage, the idea that this person is just this mighty heroic looking person is just all of a sudden just withering. That I think is a fun theming there, and I wish that incant. I know why the incant is so clunky, but I wish that maybe if they put a time limit on it, maybe they could make the incant less clunky, so the spell would see more use. Maybe in V9. We all have our various things we're hoping for in V9. Other spells that I like just for the theming. About like thing about wizard, the theming with a lot of wizard spells is very literal. It's not like there are some Contagion has some fun theming, but like no one like you're basically just like enchanting a plague on someone and then unleashing on their enemies. But I can see how, especially post COVID, I think a lot of people might just be done with plague imagery, at least for now. Any other questions, comments, concerns, suggestions?
I don't, but I'd love to actually have you one day do a more advanced wizard class for levels 5 and 6.
A slightly modified repeat of a class that I taught for Lichwood Grove before, but I would like to do a version of this that basically goes all the like it goes from levels like 1 to 6, and then you can start talking about more advanced strategies. You can start talking about enchantments more. Like wizards get some really cool enchantments. Like they get. I think the
Give
reason
void
why
touch to a monk for absolute shenanigans.
we touch to a monk for absolute shenanigans. A lot of I was talking about vampirism earlier. Oh god. Limited adrenaline, immune to death, and is cursed, but the adrenaline works through the cursed state. My friend Ryan loves vampirism, but like the moment you cast it, that spell is just gone and it's not rechargeable. So the moment they either die or get hit with a dispel, that's a point of magic that's just vanished into the aether.
It's a one-shot deal.
It's a one-shot deal, and while wizards do get persistent, they can take it like can only really take one. And again, you persistent one enchantment, and that's another 2 points of your max level magic per refresh. So it's just I wish wizard enchantment. I wish wizard enchantments got a little bit more support, I guess you could put it. Most honestly, I find a lot of like, especially since like a lot of the theming for wizard is in the enchantments, because like all like the like a wizard's general all the wizard like offensive spells are generally for the most part are very, like I said earlier, they're literal.
That's not always a bad thing. At least you know what you're getting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not always a bad thing, but like it's literal, but it's
you shatter someone, they know they're shattered.
yes,
Or you
but
cast
I
wounding
wish
on them, they know they're wounded.
are
I actually
I
like
would
that.
I like that. It is a good thing. I wish that there was some I wish that there were some wizard spells that were vague enough. It's like vague enough in theming, but clear enough in description that you could apply your own theming to them.
Like how the bardics will sometimes put modern songs to their music.
They need to change the something like that. Yes, yes and no to an extent.
No, I get it.
Tyler Salvador and Tyler's been talking about like having spells that you have to say the incantation a certain way in a battle game, but in a quest or RP you can change specific words and the spell still works.
That
You can
sounds
make a
fun.
spell so that in RP you can make a spell fit your character's flavor text.
That would be a
That's
lot
one
more
of the
fun
things that
because my wizard is a pirate.
that's one of the things that's on the latest survey that just came out too. That's one of the questions.
Yes. If you haven't filled out the survey yet, do it. This one is about general battle game mechanics, not about any one specific class, though.
But one of the questions is about the wording of spells and stuff like that, and how much.
They had questions that are specifically about, hey, how heavily themed should spells and abilities be?
Exactly.
They need to change the incant for Fireball.
Yes, yes,
Flame
I
of
do.
Fire.
That is
Flame of Fire is mine to evoke.
so stupid.
Dumb. Why couldn't it have been the Flame of
Isn't Lightning Bolt the Flame of Storms is mine to evoke?
Fire?
That's not as bad. I like the idea of the flames of the phoenix are mine to evoke.
That's what I was just about to say. The Flames of the Phoenix would have been a sick incantation.
Yeah, but the flames, yeah, it's just it's. When I first read it, I was like, really? That's like the lamest incantation ever.
Yeah, I looked at that for the first time. I'm like, what? That doesn't even make sense to me.
I legit will not cast it in character because it's so dumb.
I mean, even if it was the strength of fire is mine to evoke.
Noah does not cast fireballs.
Are fireballs engulfing wounds kill?
Fireball, to the best of my knowledge, is not engulfing, but I literally have the
Weapon is destroyed.
it's not
Hit. Subject to shield
It's not-
destroying. Armor's hit with armor points, remaining subject to armor destroying. A player hit receives wounds, kill wound to the hit location.
Yeah, some people. It's one of the most common misconceptions is that fireballs engulfing wounds kill. From what
No.
I've seen.
that would be insane.
It would make more sense
love
though. If
wizards.
you think about
But
it.
I would like to point
No,
out
that
the
would be
reason
way too strong.
The reason that people think that is because it used to be.
No, it never
Yeah,
was.
exactly.
Yes.
It was never actually. Glenelf went through version 1 to now, and there was never an iteration where Fireball was engulfing wounds kill. It is the most common misconception across Amtgard.
Weird.
Yeah. And it's just been grandfathered in. There you go, some history with Sedge. Boom. I almost started in V7.
Let's see here.
I was
There's a lot of
7.7. I missed my flame arrow for Archer. Just because it looked so damn cool, the one I built.
Flame Arrow, so from a theming perspective, I think Flame Arrow just makes a lot of sense. It makes more sense, I think, to see archers setting their arrows, archers and scouts with their lighting the tip of their arrow on fire. Than it does for them to literally have a bomb attached to the end of an arrow like a cartoon character.
No. I'll tell you what it is. It's the difference between a fire arrow and a bomb arrow in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's how I look at it.
Yes. Absolutely.
So really, when I watch someone playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I say, that's a destruction arrow. That's not a bomb arrow.
Yeah, if you wanted to play a character from Hyrule and Amtgard, you totally could.
I actually do have a character that's based on Legend of Zelda. Her name is
there you go.
Lexi. She's
Nice.
newish. Still a work in progress, mostly. Just because I can't decide what to make clothing for her beyond the champion tunic I already did. And that really cool sword scabbard I based off of a knight's broadsword one. The one that lights up.
Fair. Nice. It is now 2:30. Thank you everyone for coming to my class on Wizard, on low-level Wizard. I very much appreciate it.